Tov, Agavach. I'd like to share with you a story about the Rebbe's father and the Rebbe. The Rebbe's father, Rebbe Levi Yitschak, his yahrzeit was just this past week. There was a chassid named R Yosef Nimotin, who happened to be my wife's grandmother's brother. And he lived in the same city where the Rebbe's father was exiled, and he worked very hard to ease the suffering in this exile. And when, sadly, Rebbe Levi Yitschak passed away, he was very involved in both burying him in the best possible way, and then helping the Rebbe's mother, Rebbe Simchana, escape from Russia. Eventually, in the late 40s, he himself decided, let me try to emigrate to America. And he applied for the paperwork, the visa, to get out of the country. Imagine somewhere late 47, 48, he applied for over 30 years. And he was rejected year after year. You could probably only apply once a year. And it was 1980 or 82. And after 30 plus rejections, he received another rejection letter. And he was so upset and so frustrated and so broken that he went to the Beis Achai, he went to the cemetery where Rebbe Levi Yitschak was buried, and he said to him, and he cried, and he said, Rebbe, to Rebbe Levi Yitschak, if you will help me somehow in heaven to get me permission to leave this country, I will go to your son and ask him why he never came to visit your grave. Then he felt very embarrassed by such a chutzpah complaint and words, but he recited some more Tehillim, and with fresh tears on his face, he headed back home. As he reached the gates of the cemetery, someone came running over and said, Yosef, Yosef, and he ran and he embraced him. This guy is a good 20, 30 years younger than him, and they look at each other and he doesn't recognize who is the stranger who's hugging him. And the guy says, you don't recognize me? And he says, honestly, no. And the young man said, don't you remember many, many years ago, you lived right next door to my family, and my father was blind, but he wanted to go to the morning services together with Rebbe Levi Yitschak, and you would walk him every day to the services and back. And Rebbe Yosef all of a sudden realizes, yeah, and you were the kid. So he said, I always wanted to pay you back, but I didn't know how and what. But tell me, why are you so upset? I see you have tears in your eyes. So Rebbe Yosef tells this young man about how his desire to leave the country and how he just received another rejection today. He doesn't know what to do. And the man smiled and said, I know a lot of people, and it's just a question of bribing the right person. I think I know the right people. If you can get me 4,000 rubles to use as a bribe, I'm sure I can give it to the right people. So Yosef thinks to himself, 5 minutes after I asked that the Rebbe's father should intercede on my behalf, someone comes and says, I can do it for you. So he gathered the money, gave it to this young man, and a week later he had the papers to leave Russia. And he took his family, he went to America, to New York, to Crown Heights, and as soon as he could, he asked to have a chance to meet with the Rebbe. The Rebbe appreciated anyone who was helpful to his parents, and especially someone who took care of his father in his last months and last moments of his life. And this Rebbe Yosef had a couple of papers with Rebbe Levi Yitzchak's handwriting on them. So he entered Yechidus to the Rebbe's room, and he gave the Rebbe as a gift these papers with his father's handwriting on it, which is very precious to the Rebbe. And then he asked the Rebbe, is it possible to have one of those papers back, because I want something with your Holy Father's handwriting. And the Rebbe said, right now I can't part from it. He just got it. And that was the end of their yechidut, of their meeting. And as Rebbe Yosef starts walking out of the Rebbe's room, and out of respect he would walk backwards, facing the Rebbe, all of a sudden the Rebbe gave him a very piercing look. And the Rebbe said, aren't you forgetting? Didn't you make a promise to ask a question? And Rebbe Yosef fainted. Let's not faint. Let's do what we can to be good to each other. Have a great week.